Consider a leader working on a presentation that's due tomorrow morning. It's 11 p.m., the content is solid, the message is clear, and the data supports every point. But they're still tweaking the font size on slide 14, adjusting the color scheme one more time, rewriting the opening sentence for the 7th time because it's still not quite right. At midnight, they finally send it. Exhausted, anxious, already replaying everything they could have done better. The next day, the presentation goes well, but all they can remember is the one transition that felt awkward. If this sounds familiar, you're not striving for excellence. You're trapped in perfectionism, and it's quietly destroying your leadership effectiveness. Let's discuss the difference between excellence and perfectionism because most leaders confuse the two. Excellence says, I want this to be as good as it can be within the constraints of time, resources, and priorities. Done is better than perfect. Perfectionism says, this must be flawless or it's worthless. If I can't do it perfectly, I failed. Think about a director who's been assigned to hire a new team member. The role has been open for 6 months. They've interviewed 12 candidates. 3 of them were strong, not perfect, but capable people who could grow into the role. However, the director keeps saying, I just haven't found the right person yet. Here's what's actually happening. They're not looking for the right person. They're looking for the perfect person. Someone who requires no training, makes no mistakes, and immediately performs at an expert level. Well, I hate to say it, but that person doesn't exist. So the role stays open, the team stays overworked, projects get delayed, and the director blames the talent market rather than their own impossible standards. The cost of perfectionism? Time. Hours spent on diminishing returns, polishing something that's already good enough. Innovation. Fear of imperfect attempts, killing experimenting. If you can't do it perfectly, then you won't try at all. Team morale. When the leader's standard is perfection, the team learns that nothing they do is ever quite good enough. Mental health. Perfectionism is one of the strongest predictors of burnout, anxiety, and depression. Relationships. Perfectionists are exhausting to work with because they project their impossible standards onto everyone around them. Reflect on a leader who sends an email at 2 a.m. and then sends a follow-up at 2:07 with a minor correction. Their team learns mistakes are catastrophic. Even with tiny errors, they require immediate correction. That's not modeling excellence, it's modeling anxiety. Here's what changed my understanding of this. Perfectionism isn't about high standards. It's a shield against criticism and shame. Consider what's really driving perfectionist behavior. Perfectionists believe if I can make this flawless, no one can criticize me. If there are no mistakes, I'm safe from judgment. If everything is perfect, I can finally prove that I'm enough. Here's the devastating truth. That moment never comes because perfectionism isn't motivated by the pursuit of excellence. It's motivated by the avoidance of shame. You're not trying to create something great. You're trying to create something that can't be attacked. This is where Embody Grace becomes essential. Grace is the capacity to hold both high standards and self-compassion. It's the ability to pursue excellence without demanding perfection. Grace says, I will do my best work within the time available. Good enough for this context is actually good. Mistakes are information, not identity. I can produce something imperfect and still be a capable person. The distinction most perfectionists miss, excellence, is context dependent. What does good enough look like for this situation? Excellence is progress focused. How can I improve? It's growth oriented. What did I learn? It's sustainable. It creates energy over time. Perfectionism, this context is independent. Everything must be flawless. Outcome-oriented. Is it perfect? It's fear-oriented. Did I make mistakes? It's exhausting. It depletes energy over time. Visualize 2 leaders preparing for the same client meeting. Excellent driven leader spends 2 hours preparing key points, anticipating likely questions, and rehearsing the opening. They feel ready, they sleep well. The perfectionist leader spends 6 hours preparing, creating 40 slides when 12 would do, rehearses 8 times, and stays up until 1 a.m. making final tweaks. They walk in exhausted and overprepared. Both meetings go well, but one leader has energy left for everything else while the other is burnt out by Tuesday. I want to share the moment I realized my perfectionism was actually hurting my leadership. I once spent 3 weeks perfecting a workshop design. Every slide was immaculate. Every transition was smooth. Every example was carefully chosen. The workshop itself, it was fine. People learned, but it wasn't transformational. The next month, I designed a workshop in 3 days due to a last-minute opportunity. I couldn't perfect it. I just had to make it good enough. I was terrified. I thought, this is going to be my least impactful workshop ever. It ended up being the most transformational work I'd done in years. Why? Because I wasn't polishing content. I was present with participants. Because I wasn't protecting my ego. I was solving their problems with them. Because I wasn't performing perfection. I was offering authentic connection. That's when I understood my perfectionism wasn't making my work better. It was making my work safe. And safe is rarely transformational work. When you commit to good enough, you're saying, I'm willing to be seen in my imperfection. I'm willing to risk criticism. I'm willing to prioritize impact over image. That's not lowering your standards. That's having the courage to focus on what actually matters. Here's your practice for the week. And fair warning, this will feel uncomfortable. The 70% rule. For one project this week, commit to delivering it at 70% of what you consider perfect. Not sloppy and not careless. Just 70% of your maximum polished work. Why 70%? Because beyond 70% completion, you're often polishing for yourself, not improving for the audience. You are adding finishing touches that literally no one else will notice. How to identify your 70%? Ask yourself, what's the minimum viable version that accomplishes this goal? What would this look like if I only had half the time? What am I perfecting because it matters versus what I am perfecting because I'm anxious? Imperfection practice. Intentionally include one small imperfection in your next deliverable. Send the email with a minor typo that you might have noticed. Submit the report without reformatting that one stubborn table. Deliver the presentation with a slide that's good enough but not beautiful. Then observe. Does anyone notice? Does anything catastrophic happen? Or does the work still create value despite the imperfection? The grace statement. Before you work on anything this week, say this out loud. The goal is not perfection. The goal is impact. I can create value while being imperfect. Write it on a sticky note. Put it on a monitor. Repeat it when the perfectionist urge arises. Here's the truth perfectionism doesn't want you to know. The pursuit of perfection is keeping you from excellence. While you're spending hours perfecting slide 14, your competitor is shipping version 1.0 and learning from real feedback. While you're paralyzed by the fear of making a mistake, your team is waiting for direction. While you're polishing your image, you're sacrificing your impact. Perfect is the enemy of done, and done is the only thing that creates change. The question isn't, can I make this perfect? The question is this good enough to create the value I'm trying to create? Your answer to that question will determine whether you lead or whether you perfect. Drop a comment. What's the last thing you spent way too much time perfecting? For me, it was a 2-sentence email that took me 15 minutes. What's yours? If this made you feel uncomfortable, good. Save it. You'll need it as a reminder when perfectionism tries to convince you that it's helping. Perfect is safe. Good enough is brave. Embody grace.